Welcome back today. So part of my TPMS Basics videos, I'm going to make a series of videos to kind of hopefully inform and answer questions for people that are new to this. And one of the most common questions is the difference between programming sensors and relearning sensors. So just to touch on that first, aftermarket sensors, not OE sensors, come blank, so you can't put them in a vehicle and have them work in North America. In Europe, some come pre-programmed, but in North America, almost every brand I've come across for the universal styles, 315 and 433, are shipped blank, so they need to be configured first to what vehicle they're going to be used on. So essentially that's just telling the sensor the make, model, year of vehicle, what protocol, I'll get into those on another video, to use, and then the ID. So they can be programmed once they're in the wheel. Most aftermarkets now, or in 2025, can be reprogrammed. When they first started, they couldn't. They were single programming. But there are OE sensors. So an OE sensor is an aftermarket maker like Autel or Schrader makes a bunch of OE sensors that are already pre-programmed, and those are set for specific vehicles. They can't be reprogrammed by these tools, aftermarket tools. So anyway, programming a sensor is configuring it to what vehicle to use it on and giving it an ID. Whereas a relearn, which is what I'm going to focus on here, is making the vehicle learn the new sensors. And there are three ways that vehicles relearn. And these tools that have an OBD port typically can do all three. One doesn't really involve much of a tool to do. Sometimes you can help it along, but so the three types are stationary, which is basically you can do it with a TPMS tool, or you can just do it with one of these activation tools. And essentially what you're doing is you're just waking the sensor up in a certain order. So you put the vehicle in a learn mode. Usually that's explained in a manual, or you can find it online. Then you go to the wheel that you start with, which is usually driver front, activate it, the horn will honk, light will flash, and you go on to the next one. If it's a compatible sensor, right? And it's already configured for the vehicle and installed in a pressure and all that. So these things are fairly cheap, much cheaper than these guys, because it doesn't do everything, right? This is just an activation tool. So they go on Amazon anywhere between 10 to 20, 30, $40, depending on who's selling it, and some do different makes and models. Essentially it's a 125 kilohertz signal, and you hold it up next to the sensor once it's in the wheel, and it wakes it up. Whereas this will do it as well. It can do stationary. So I've got a vehicle up for an example here. Some vehicles can do multiple types of relearn, and some only do one type. So there's three types. Stationary is one. OBD relearn is another, which you need a tool that has an OBD cable. So like this is the 508, the 408 doesn't have the OBD cable, so you couldn't do it with that tool. But essentially what you're doing there, excuse me, is you read the IDs from the vehicle, from the wheel, sorry, and then you connect to the OBD port and write them. There's a couple more steps involved with it, but all the steps are in the tools typically. And then the third type of relearn is what they call auto-relearn, and that's for vehicles like BMWs, Mercedes, Teslas that can learn by driving. So you put the sensors in that are programmed, and then make sure they're up to the proper pressure, and then you drive. And once you get above 25 kilometers an hour, the sensor wakes up, there's an accelerometer in it, and it starts communicating. And so the vehicle is looking for those IDs, and usually those type of vehicles often have a pickup in each wheel location, and will be able to communicate with the sensors if it's programmed to the right vehicle, and it learns and stores the IDs. So that sometimes the vehicles will have auto-relearn steps in here as well, where you can go around and activate the sensors, same as like one of these would, and then it'll tell you to drive. But a lot of Asian vehicles like Honda, Mitsubishi, Toyotas, some of the newer ones have auto relearn functions, but a lot of them are OBD. So I'll use mine for example, which I'm sitting out in front of here, is a Honda Odyssey. And the only option it has is the 2017. Some of the Tourings have a capability to auto relearn, but that's why you see in the tool there's different settings for Touring versus the regular Odyssey. And it's a 2017, 315 megahertz. So if I go to information and then go to OE sensor information, it gives me the OE maker, TRW, the OE, like the frequency, and the relearn type, which is nice. So for each vehicle, you can look it up. It's also available on their compatibility website for free, so you don't even have to have a tool. Then it gives you the OE part number. So it tells you basically this vehicle only learns new sensor IDs by OBD. So if I go back to the Touring, and we'll pick same model year, information, OE, it's saying only OBD as well, so maybe that's on newer models. But anyway, that's essentially relearn, the three types, and how to go about it, and the difference between programming and relearn. So programming is, again, configuring the sensor to what vehicle you're going to use it on, giving it an ID, and there's different ways of doing that. You can create new IDs, you can clone sensors or copy them if you have two sets of wheels and you want to swap them out without having to do the relearn process. I can cover that in another video, but yeah, essentially there's multiple different ways to program, and different tools have different options, but that's programming a sensor versus relearning the sensor. So once they're programmed and installed, a lot of vehicles require to, unless the IDs match what's in the vehicle already, they're required to learn the new IDs. So I hope you found that helpful. If you like my content, please like and subscribe, and look for new content as it comes out.